Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
From the All Indiana Podcast Network, it's Diversity Focus Today, a weekly discussion bringing awareness to cultural diversity in greater Indianapolis and surrounding areas. Now, here's your host, Ricky Solid Gold Clark.
And welcome everyone to another edition of Diversity Focus Today. I am your host, Ricky Solid Gold Clark, along with our co-host, the fabulous Dr. T, and the one and only attorney's attorney, Mike Murray. Welcome to the program, everybody. And we got a list of topics to go over and discuss. But before we do that, I want to acknowledge our co-host and make sure you know a little bit more about them and what they do. So, ladies first.
Hi, I'm Dr. Tami Harris. I'm a psychologist here in Indiana. I'm also a board-certified art therapist and a licensed mental health counselor. I provide private practice for adults and children. We're going to be launching our virtual art therapy consulting group, which provide online art therapy services in June. I also manage bookings and publications and opportunities for clients. Hidden Gems by LG.com. You can find one of our clients there through UniquelYou by Tami Harris. I can be contacted at 317-426-8380, 317-426-8380.
I have a question
Yes.
before we get to Mike. Explain what an art therapist may be or what they do.
Okay, well, in short,
short.
because I could go on and on my lovely soapbox, but art therapists use art as a way to help people process inner, I would say, subconscious entities of things that are traumatic, things that are of anxiety, things that are depression. It can also use as art as therapy, where we can use it just as a way of creatively expressing ourselves for the problem solving. So art therapy can be both in that of clinical as well as expressive. We work with people from children to adults throughout all the DSM-5 mental illness categories, families. We work in different types of communities, such as hospitals, schools, after-school programs, homeless shelters, women's shelters. So it's definitely very broad and meant for everybody except children. That's usually the misconception about art therapy, that's only for kids, but it's not. I even use it myself to even process dreams, to to help process dreams.
Okay.
Yes, and to really get to the root of, mental illness and difficulties that you might have.
Well, we're going to have to make sure you give your number again.
That's a whole discussion.
A whole bunch of
processing
dreams, girl. Like, you see, let me see
my phone number.
What dream did I have yesterday? Okay.
317-426-8380.
Slowly, because, see, that's a lot of folks. I'm trying to write you.
317-426-8380. And you can contact me for, I give 30-minute free consulting to kind of see what your need is as far as need for art therapy or counseling or any type of workshops you would need. And I also work with Lloyd Garrison. He does poetry and art. So we kind of use both the expressive therapies to help people.
Is there a website or an email address that you wish to give?
You can go to drtamiharris.com. That's Dr. T at drtamiharris.com. And our website is hiddengemsbylg.com.
Okay.
Yep.
And we'll go back over that toward the end of the program.
Yep.
For those that didn't get it and said, I gotta get my pencil and pad. You gotta say that again. Okay.
Thank you.
Long. Okay. Mike, attorney Mike, who has done so many things.
Hi, Ricky. Good morning. Yeah, I'm an attorney. I'm mainly a corporate attorney. I do business law, contract law, and I do internal investigations, HR matters. But I also have a publishing company, the Cricket Cottage Publishing Company, which is online at thecricketpublishing.com. Our number is 463-320-6127.
Okay. I guess I was expecting more.
Well, I am a lawyer, and we do charge by the hour and the word, right? So.
Right. That's why I say short version, the 30-minute version. But hopefully, like I would be able to present some of the works that we do and talk more about art therapy in future programmings.
Yeah,
and
okay.
I got definitely some interviews lined up to bring to you on that.
Exactly.
So you'll definitely be hearing more.
Okay.
Great. And at some point, I'd like to talk to you about some of the books that we do.
Yes.
Yeah, well, we certainly need to add that to the mix, you know. And of course, Tami, did you also do ghostwriting? So, you know, hey.
Editing, creative.
We got a talented team here, everybody. And and Brian, of course, does the website. Brian
Wallace.
Brian Wallace, and the name of his company?
B-Dub Creative.
B-Dub Creative.
He did my website.
Yeah, and he's working on this one, diversityfocustoday.com. So that should be up here pretty soon. So anyway, back to what we had on the agenda for this evening or this morning, whatever time you're watching us or listening to us right now. Wanted to let everyone know when we talk about diversity is just not dealing in the race. You know, diversity is, and see, I have my card here, and I had to do it this way because, you know, you get as young as I am, you have to read and get close. Diversity consists of course, for like African Americans, Asian, Hispanic Americans, Native Americans, women, veterans, disabled, senior citizens, LGBTQ community, and it's still listed as also with the Me Too movement. Did I leave anybody out?
Different religions.
Or
non-religion.
Or non-religious, yeah, that's part of diversity too. So when we talk about diversity, it includes anything and everything, and we want to be able to provide all the information we can, because information is power, information is key, and I think that is what is lacking in our society, not being informed, not knowing what's going on in your life, your neighborhood, your communities, you know, your schools, your job, all the above. So we hope to be able to enlighten everyone during our program.
And I think this will be a good time to also encourage them to write or contact us through our Facebook page for questions or ideas and
or
support.
Comments.
Yeah.
We got tough skin.
Yeah.
We have tough skin.
Not everybody's going to agree, but...
and that's the beauty of, I think, life. And I don't want to go on that soapbox for another 2 hours. But
you can find us on Facebook at Diversity Focus Today.
Conversation could continue there.
We'll continue, exactly. Yeah. Okay, I know that we wanted to make sure that we talked about what's going on in our various universities. And we can start off with Harvard and what's happening then. Of course, by the time this program aired, no, there's still going to be conflict.
There still will be.
So, Mike, let's start off with you.
Sure.
On Harvard University, what you think.
Well, just kind of background on the issue. The Trump administration sent to Harvard, as they've done with many other universities, both public and private, any entity that receives public funds, and otherwise, I think. But they sent a list of demands to the university. Number one, telling them to kind of downplay their DEI programs, to remove a focus on DEI. They also told Harvard they needed to hire a particular staff member to do certain things that the administration wanted done, and to basically implement policies that the Trump administration thinks are the ones that need to be implemented. Harvard considered that and basically told the administration to jump in the lake. Did it very politely, very professionally, but they did not accede to the administration's demands. And as a result of that, the administration has put a freeze on about $22 billion of funding that would have otherwise gone into Harvard's research. Of course, the point is we want you to do what we say to do, and we're going to use the money, the taxpayer dollars, to do that. Harvard has taken the position that we are not going to allow the federal government or any government to interfere with the academic environment, with the control of the university, and they are encouraging other higher learning institutions to kind of join in the fight. And as a person who went into education law about 20 years ago, I'm solidly on the side of Harvard and of the academic institutions. I don't think it's a good idea to have the government dictating what universities are going to teach and how universities are going to operate. Those are the bailiwicks of the higher education institutions' governing bodies and of their faculty, who is charged traditionally with determining how to teach, what to teach. At the point where the government comes in and does that, you're now talking not about education, you're talking about indoctrination. You're talking about politicizing, in this case, what's going on in our academic halls. That is a prescription, in my mind, for very bad results. This is the kind of thing that the Nazi government did back in the day. They were going to prescribe what was going to be taught to whom. Not a good idea.
So he continues to want to be a dictator and have dictatorship throughout the United States.
Well, I'm sure there are people out there who would characterize it in a different way than that, but, you know, stupid is as stupid does, as Forrest Gump said.
I'm wondering, Mike, on that, I've read different comments. Do you think if it was the matter of Trump or the administration having the money to provide Harvard, would it be an issue? Like, would they have as much voice? Could it be like Harvard could say, okay, I don't need the money, but I know it's more about the principle, like you say, but do you think, would they still be able to carry on even if they don't get the money?
They probably would be able to do that. Harvard is probably the wealthiest institution of higher learning in the country, but when they have a significant endowment, an endowment is not free money. An institution can't just use the money any old way they want to.
Dictate where that money goes to.
Yeah, so it will be an issue for any institution where federal funding is denied them, particularly for reasons like this. These are manipulative reasons, coercive reasons. But it's not just the institution that suffers from that, it's the American public as a whole. Because these institutions, the government cannot do all the research that needs to be done. Where there are advances in medicine, advances in science, advances in basically everything that touches the human experience in this country and well beyond, a lot of that comes from our research institutions. There's a partnership that has existed, since the beginning of formal education between the institutions, the government, private sector. And when the government is taking that money out of play for the institutions of higher learning, it does affect who can research and what can be researched, how much research can be done. Corporations, private sector, they rely on academia to provide them with students, with innovation, with research in and of itself, with innovation. A lot of things come out of UK or IU or different institutions of higher learning that get spun off and privatized into the private sector. So when they're doing this to Harvard, when they're doing this to other institutions of higher learning, whether they're public or private institutions, they are affecting you and me. They are affecting children. They are affecting old people. They're affecting veterans. They are affecting everyone in doing that, and it's very coercive. Very coercive.
I think it feeds into the narrative of the administration. It came out of the WHO. So that fits the narrative. We don't need the research because we don't need WHO.
Right. We don't need science.
We don't need vaccinations, but the measles are going up. We don't need that. And then so it fits their narratives to say, don't take our money.
Yeah.
And they can put it into their narrative of, that's what I still don't understand. Where is all this money going to golf. Yeah, they say he spent more money in golf his first month, right? Is that where the money going to?
Well, golf tournaments at his facility in Florida. I mean, you know, he's getting it one way or the other, either through the front door or the back door or the side door.
So I wonder where would that $22 billion or stuff go if Harvard say, okay, but we don't stand by principle. Where is it going? Is it just sitting there waiting till everything get resolved, or are they spending it? That's we got to follow the money. I think that's what we got to do. We need an accountant in there, a CFO, follow the government money.
Well, I think this is probably some early salvos in this issue. The issue is too critical for it to not have, serious public attention from individual citizens all the way up to, individual legislators, presidents, and chancellors of our higher education institutions. But we cannot allow the government to dictate education. There's a difference between educating people and indoctrinating people. Right. And when the government is beginning to dictate what you can and cannot teach, that's indoctrination. They don't want questions, but this is what academia is about. You are supposed to learn. You are supposed to question. This is how you get innovation. Right. The diversity issue is important in that because you don't want confirmation bias. You don't want people coming to research with preconceived ideas that their research focuses on confirming what they already think they know. And I don't and this is what you're going to get if you don't have diversity in education and you allow faculty who are well trained to guide education. That should not be a function of the presidency or a function of any executive agency. That has got to be academia, and let academia guide that.
Well, we know that the president is trying his best to destroy the Department of Education, and he's got the Secretary of the Department of Education. I know by now, hopefully folks have known when she was giving a presentation, they talked about AI, and she says, "Oh yeah, A1," and A1 is a steak sauce. That has nothing to do with AI.
She said it more than once.
Oh, I know.
And they tried to give her hey, you said it wrong, and she kept reading.
Yeah, but she never caught on. I mean, this is the Secretary of Education of the United States of America, and for her to not know the difference between AI and A1 steak sauce does not, but I'm not impressed personally with his staff, with his secretarial staff of anything. You got the Secretary of Defense that let out private information on an email that was not protected, and I'm sure there's going to be other things. These are just things that we all know about as of now, but I'm sure there's going to be other issues.
Well, they will talk about this in terms of efficiency and in terms of, eliminating fraud, waste, and abuse. And I always think that there's value to looking at what you are doing and trying to, marshal some improvements, incremental improvements, major improvements. There's always value to looking critically at what you're doing and trying to do things better. But the devil is in the detail on this issue, and you're going to get policies, you're going to get political ideology that's flowing into this. They say, we want to give that to the states.
Yeah.
Well, the Department of Education, the federal government is about kind of providing for the common good. Right. And we need to have some common good. We need to have some common planning if we are going to be competitive as a nation. If we're going to compete with China, Japan, we're going to compete with all of these other countries who are putting their money and their assets, their resources into developing. They want to be on top of the innovative world too. They want to be on top of the technology world as well. And so they're putting in the resources. And if we don't continue to put forward those resources into our own education, we are not going to be competitive for long. We will not be the number one economy for long. We are not going to be militarily competitive for long. So there are some serious issues here.
And I'm hearing a couple of things when I hear you speak. I hear about the AI, not A1, AI, and how personally I start taking more workshops and classes on that. It's like you don't want to be left behind. You're either going to be the computer telling you what to do, or you telling the computer what to do. I want to be on that side. So it's just like going from that, you mentioned before, the typewriter to a keyboard. This, and then that kind of fits the narrative, I believe, if that's what they're putting out there. Why have Harvard if you can learn on your own? But I also see that the AI, since I've been learning it, because now I have a better understanding of how it works and why it works, it depends on the information that you put into it.
Absolutely.
And then ChatGPT is based on only data up to 2013. But the newer versions are now, don't have a lot, but they want to, you'll see it. You could be a psychologist today, use our notes. You could be a teacher, use our art. You could do because the professionals are putting the information that they need to teach and put it back at you.
Okay, so
that makes sense.
That's the difference.
Right. So you need to. So you got to kind of watch what you put into AI, but it's going to never take over the conceptions, the knowing of that professional. Like you can know all about DJing. You go into and put it in a computer. It's collecting the data and creating a chat or an AI response based on your profession, but you gave it the information. Same way with the artists. Right now it's a third reality. You've seen all these videos, and now I got the eye. I could tell the difference. But they put out these fake videos through AI and put a headline on it. That's that 10-minute bite, 10-second bite, to make it feel like it's real. And now I'm hearing in the chats, is this real? Is it not real? And then we go back to art therapy and dreams. I can distinguish, but now you put it on the internet, it automatically seems real because it's been constructed through AI. So I'm thinking that's, we didn't have Industrial Revolution. We have horse and buggy.
Right.
Now we got Industrial Revolution. Now we have technology. And I think, and this is the second part real quick, we talked about competing against other nations or worlds. I'm guessing that China knows this is not the American people. This is a president, right? But at the same time, we go around to connect through the internet. People have friends in other countries and correlating without government, but they also monitoring all that. So if we all work together, in a sense, worldwide, that's my humanitarian peace option. Just let's all just get along, right? Rockney King, let's just all get along. I think it'll be a lot easier to not have to worry about the squeaky wheel, the dictation, Just we can all do what we need to do, learn what we have to learn to work together more so than trying to be on top. But right now, as you said, the change is happening abruptly. They putting hammers and sledgehammers and and chainsaws out there, and we like, he signed executive orders. Well, I learned that signing executive order doesn't mean it's a law. But people hear that, he's showing his little signature. It doesn't, but in the mindset now, it's like, oh, wow, we're doomed.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, the executive order, there will be a lot of litigation, a lot of pushback on whether state or national level, the chief executive can effect some of these changes they want to effect through executive order. But the thing for me is it really shows what that person values. Maya Angelou said, and this is one of my favorite quotes, I often use this, but when somebody shows you who they are, believe them.
Yes.
And so with these executive orders, he's telling us a lot about who he is and what he values. We simply need to make ourselves known in terms of whether we're going to accept that or not.
Well, folks, it also goes back to things that we can change as being citizens here in the United States. You got to be able to know what's going on. You got to know who you want to support when it comes to voting or when it comes to attending meetings, whether it's a school board meeting or whether it's a neighborhood meeting or whatever. So you can speak up and make sure you can get change. That's the only way you're going to do that, is let folks know what you want and vote and be a voice in your neighborhood, in your community, wherever, in your churches, your synagogues, the whole 9 yards. You know, I've often said, as my grandfather used to always say, squeaky wheel gets the oil. If you continue to squeak, you ain't getting no oil. So you're not gonna get nothing done. You know, you gotta be able to vote, pay attention. I know folks say, I don't wanna watch the news because it's all bad news. Well, there's good news, and there's news that's gonna help you, live your life and get the better things of life and not have to lose what you've already got. Anybody, a good union person, will tell you, you never want to lose what you've already got. You want to maintain those, and you want to fight to the death to keep those things that you've got. And so these are the things that we have to do locally, statewide, nationally. And if you've got some concerns and issues internationally, right now, the United States, which used to be the powerhouse, and I guess we are still somewhat of a powerhouse, but we're not looked on too kindly by those other nations. Prime example, here a few weeks ago, I met a couple of gentlemen from Denmark, and the first thing they asked me, what the hell are y'all doing over here? How did y'all elect this man? What's going on? Why are you guys have been the star of the world. You're losing your star. Why are you, And all I could say was, I didn't vote for it.
Right.
But we've got to educate those that did. And, now some of them are seeing what's going on because jobs have been lost, privileges have been removed, and it's just going to get worse before it gets better. So we just need you to pay attention. And when it's time to vote, when it's time for you to speak up, then do so. It doesn't matter whether you're having a bridge game and you want to speak up at the card game, or whether you're at the dinner table. But you've got to speak up, and please know what's going on. We're not telling you who to vote for, but at least become educated of both sides of the issues and who represents your best interests. Not theirs, but your best interest. And that's how you do that. That's what you need to go. Now, I know we got about a minute to go. Hey, I'm right on time. The record says we got a minute. So, okay. Anything else? Let's finish up. We got 1 minute.
I would just say, learn both sides. When I went through my dissertation process, it wasn't just what I wanted to be out there, as I had to learn where it was coming from. So you learn both sides of the argument. Be open.
Okay. Big Mike.
Well, I want to come back to this higher education involvement at some point, but I also want to talk about the assault on DEI at some point, because I think there's a gross misunderstanding there. So hopefully we'll get to that at some point in the future.
We'll get to that at some point in the future. We've got less than 30, so we've got to wrap it up now. So our contact... Phone number 317-490-4950, or Facebook, Diversity Focus Today on Facebook, and we'll have the website up pretty soon. Thanks for watching and listening.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Be well.
This is Diversity Focus Today with Ricky Solid Gold Clark. Watch Sundays at 1:30 a.m. on Wish TV. Be sure to like and subscribe to this podcast and check out other great podcasts on the All Indiana Podcast Network. Online now at allindianapodcastnetwork.com.